the new American dream is to actually leave the United States and go live somewhere else. And I have some stuff, some data to back it up, and I'm going to talk about it in this video. So first of all, I started a little community. So if you want to join, it's like $2.99. We're going to have like conversations in there, like channel members and all that kind of stuff. So let me know if that's something you guys are interested in. But let's jump into the video about why you're actually here, to hear why I think that the American dream is actually to live abroad now. So when I look at this statistics right here, that says that so in 2008 there were 307,000 Americans receiving social security benefits overseas, and in 2022 it basically doubled to $760,000. And they're saying that there's an estimated 5.1 million Americans living abroad, and it's actually the number of Americans who retire abroad is unclear because you can still receive Social Security benefits and still have a US bank account. So now you're like, so what does that mean? Well, in the US, stuff is getting so expensive that you can't even afford it. So check out this report here that basically said that consumer pricing didn't come in as expected. So now they're like, hey, we got to lower it because retail didn't grow as much as they thought they did. So now you're like, why would you say all of this stuff? Well, when you're thinking about living abroad, so in order for you to get up and move, there needs to be a few things that need to be satisfied in order to, you make a move to jump to another place. And I've done it a few times across the world, and I'm going to share with you how I did it. So I grew up in Switzerland, and I moved to Lyon, France, for a few months. And then I moved from Lyon, France to Florida. And then I moved from Florida to California, and then from California to Vegas. So in order for you to move to another country, you need to have opportunities and you need to have a few things set in order to make that like reality, right? So you need to have better living, making more money, better health care, just things that make it worth moving. So why would other people in the US move to other places in the world? So I've been traveling to Asia the last 2 years. I've been to Indonesia, Thailand. And so some things that I see, and I see it on a lot of other social media platforms, but why they're going on live and talking about it, is that they're moving. And these are like true patriots that loved, being in the United States and doing doing American things. And now, watching football and all that barbecue and hanging out with friends, doing, what America kind of is known for. So why would they leave? Well, some of the thing is cost. Now you're like, why would that really matter? Because I'm going to go to the computer right now and show you something that's really, really interesting.
I just typed into Google retirement homes in Thailand, so I'm gonna not even look too long and just click on the first one, 4.9 stars. So look at luxury hospitality, green oasis, prime location. So let's see if they say something about the price, because that is what's really, really matters, right? So square meters is what they're going for. So now let's look at a Lexus private pool villa. So you can even click independent assistance. Okay. So let's look at some more pictures.
Okay, so you just saw how I searched on the computer how to get a retirement home in Thailand. And you get your own pool, you don't have to worry about nothing. And those prices are with living nurses, right? So they'll kind of live with you and, and take care of you. In the US, that would probably cost you $10,000. If you have a case where how much you're paying, let me know in the comments below. Super curious to see what you think about this whole topic. But now you just cut your costs down about $6,000 to $10,000, depending on, where you're gonna retire. And I get it, your family's not gonna be there and whatnot, but that is a month and not a year. So if you're saving six, seven, $8,000 a month, you can buy your whole family whenever they want to come out, first class tickets to wherever, and you still be ahead. And you're like, oh, you don't have your support network. Well, you need a living nurse, right? So if you need like medical treatment and other stuff, this is an opportunity for you to kind of, stretch your dollars. And I see it a lot lately. And I think this was because of the incident in 2020 where everybody freaked out and everybody was remote. So when everybody was remote, they were like, hey, let's travel. And so people went all over the world and found out that freedom exists kind of everywhere if you have money, right? And so that's another thing. The US dollar really stretches far in other countries. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this hypothesis that I have. If you can stretch your US dollar so much further, you can have a way, way bigger, you can have a nicer life and way bigger a retirement. And since there's a bunch of articles out that says, boomers and all these people can't retire. So what are you going to do when you can't retire? And I think it's 1 in 3 boomers or something that can't retire. So, and I know people are like, oh, play the smallest violin. I'm like, yeah, they haven't been taught the right way to finance, to leverage, and to kind of, you know, do things. But now, what are you going to do with all that knowledge that you just accumulated, for years to go? And you're like, I really want to retire, but I can't. So what you can do is you can get a US job, a remote job paying you nothing, but you're working abroad. And if you can make $20 an hour and be abroad, this is phenomenal. You can live really decently um in another place making $20 an hour, right? So now you're like, then why are people coming to the United States? It's opportunities. You can get here, you can do whatever you want in like work related stuff like that. And it's hard. It's not easy. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to, I want to, come to the United States, check out this ad here. Check out this ad that somebody has put up online that they're looking for. They're going to sponsor you at McDonald's to basically wash dishes and do stuff because they can't get an American to do it. So, and then I was like, why is that in Utah? So why can't they do this? So I looked at rental prices in that area, and rental prices were $1,300 for an average place. So you're working for 2 weeks just to pay rent. And then if you have something else, like if you need a car or something else, you can do it. But if you can kind of slum it and just, rent the room or do something and just pocket the money, you might be able to do it. But you got to look at the full picture. And that would stretch far for you in your country, right? So this is a great opportunity to make money, call it quit, and retire. Because there's so many spots in the world where you're not making anything decent, for a full work a day compared to US standards. Not compared to your own, to these other countries, right? Because, it is what it is and you can't just change that. But if you retire in the US and you're like, I'm done, but I want to increase my lifestyle, you got to kind of go abroad or find a cheaper spot in the US. And when you find a cheaper spot in the US, that's, you're still in the US, but like, why do it? You can go to Thailand or Indonesia or, Mexico, Southern America, South America. There's some great spots. Costa Rica, a few hours away, and you can live on the beach. I don't know about the healthcare, but you can, you get what I'm saying, right? You can basically just do, have a better lifestyle for the money you have. And And I see it a lot because when I talk to other people, that traveled a lot and said, like, I'm here, I see, like, oh, I'm in another country and I used to be living in the US. And then they're like, yeah, freedom nowadays, what they'll tell you in the news, like, oh, you know, America's the greatest, it's freedom. Yeah, it is. But if you have never experienced true freedom, you need to go to another country with money and you experience freedom like you never have before. And I believe, but I don't know anybody that is that rich, that if you have so much money that you can buy your way out of everything. So you just spend money, you go and just, race 160 mile down the freeway and you get pulled over and you just hire the best attorney and, you pay politicians and you do a whole bunch of stuff and you'll be fine, right? Because you got all this money to blow. You're on yachts and doing all that. I think then the US is the perfect playground for you, or probably Dubai or some, one of them. But you can just, move, move around freely and, have great everything at your disposal. But most of all of my viewers and myself, I'm not in a situation where I'm remotely that wealthy that I can live like a king and be, and do what I want, right? And I'm not saying that every country you can do that, but it gets you, like if you want to get in front of the line in the US, at the club in Vegas, it costs you $50. If you want to do that in Egypt, it costs you a few dollars. So it's like 10x less, right? If you want to go into a nightclub or something else. And, or maybe Egypt's a bad example, but you go to Ibiza or something and you just hand them a little cash and off you go. Or even in France. I did that in France a few times when I went out to party when I lived in France. I just handed him like like 10 euros or $20 or something like it. And he was like, hey, come over here. And, and they catered to you. So now when I was in Thailand, the same thing, they just catered to you. Customer service is top notch. And, with a little bit of money, stretches a far way over there. And here in the US, with all these prices surging, the economy, consumer spending's down, recession's looming, that might be a very valuable option for you because there are expat communities all over. And 5 million Americans live abroad, so it can't be too bad for you, and I did it. I like living here and I love the States, but at one point, why not try something else out, and do something that you can actually feel like you're in the top 1% or something and just go on vacation for a long period of time or do something. But when you don't have the money, how are you going to retire? And how are you going to make a living, like when you're elderly, right? And so one of my viewers asked me, hey, how about Gen Z's not getting jobs? And it's not just Gen Zers not getting job, it's nobody. So it's not Gen Z having problems. It's like everybody. And so if I was right now Gen Z or something, I'd be like, oh my gosh, if I was in my early 20s, I would actually leave the United States, not permanently. I wouldn't give up my passport. But people like here also, they've also given up their passport more, but that's not a lot of people because you don't need to give up your passport. Most countries allow dual passports and whatnot. So you don't need to do that. But if you're 18 years old, right, or 20, you're trying to do college, you can do remote college and, live in Indonesia, in Bali, like a king and actually work, you can work another remote job. Yeah, the time zone really sucks. But after you kind of get used to it, you can live really, really inexpensively, really, really nice. So, and then you're like, oh, you need visas. Yeah, you do, but they're way easier to come by than it is for somebody to get a US visa, right? So you get the best out of all worlds kind of when you're doing that. it's not beneficial to the US economy at all means, right? Because you're not spending the money that you're making in the US, because you can be you can you're not going to spend it in the US, so you're not like contributing to the US economy besides paying taxes. But you can travel the world. And I feel like if you're 20 years old, you should you should 100% travel and get to see the world a little bit and take some risks. Be- And that is what I would also encourage my kids to do. Just go travel, work remotely, and live out, some fantasies you had, and just, try to do it. And if you are, because life goes quick. I've seen it. They're like, I wish I would have traveled more when I was younger. Now I have hip pains. I can't sit in an airplane and do all that, right? So the American dream, and I've seen it. I've seen it in the comment section that people tell me, the American dream is really about, making US money and then heading abroad. And I kind of see the allure of it. I kind of see how great the idea can be. Implementation's probably on a 1 to 10, I give it a 9 because it's so difficult to do. But if you're travel, you're adventurous, you want to do it. Um, Great opportunity. And what also is that a friend of mine actually moved to Colombia, and because he didn't really have a big retirement, he never really made a lot of money. And so he saved up for 5, 6 years, and then he bought something in Medellin, Colombia, and he comes here a few weeks or a few months and works and rents a room from a friend of his, rents a room, and then he works it for a few months, and then he hits back and he lives the whole year out. And in Switzerland, when I was doing AC contractors, there were a bunch of people from up north, from Scandinavian countries, that did the same thing. They lived in Scandinavia, Sweden, and all these places, and they came down during summertime for installation and repairs. And then during wintertime, there wasn't that much work, so they kind of left. There wasn't that much work, right? So they kind of left. And so the allure has been there for a long time. You guys let me know what you think. I think it's a really interesting concept done right. Probably pretty sweet if you do not have enough money to retire close to family. Yeah. And if you're single and you're gonna travel abroad, dating life's probably easier than it is in the US too. So, but that I have no idea about. And so I'm not gonna cover anything about that. Well, let me know what you guys think about this. Is America still the greatest place on the planet? I think it is. To make some money, it is. And yeah, that's why I left Switzerland and France to come move to the US. Haven't regretted it. I took the leap of moving. I think other people should too, and just see how other places have it, then you appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think. And please, if you haven't, like and subscribe. I make these videos every day. Got to get my walks in. It's gorgeous out tonight. Look at that. Look at that. It's gorgeous out. And I'll see you guys in the next one.